Hi Aries, here's a general look at your solar chart for September 2015, and you'll be busy getting organized, getting your ducks in a row, whether that's to do with employment, the day job, hobbies, or things that you've just got an interest in, or maybe it's nothing to do with any of that, although I don't see how you can escape because most of us have to deal with those things anyway, no matter what the transits are doing. But the emphasis might be on maintenance, repairs, you see, that kind of thing. But also it might be on maintenance and repairs of your own body or somebody that you're concerned about as well. So those sorts of things will tend to be on the to-do list. Mercury's in your opposite sign all month, and Mercury will be going retrograde from the 17th to the 8th of October for your information. So just past mid-month, maybe there's delays, maybe there's postponements, maybe there's crossed wires, that type of thing can be happening. But in general, communications in close interactions and collaborations are highlighted. You seeking advice, maybe, you being guided by another, maybe, another being guided by you. You listening to somebody else's slant on things and saying, well, thank you very much, that was interesting, but of course always and ever making up your own mind, and maybe getting a second or even a third opinion about something, if you can. Sometimes of course you can't, so you may be in a relationship with someone whose guidance or information is valuable, and this might be a quick, on the side of the road, whoops, I've got a flat tire type relationship. Or it might be a longer term sort of thing, and it might be a mixture because Mercury's in here for quite a long time. So two heads are better than one, really, I would say, with this on. And Venus is in a marathon transit of Leo, which is good news for you children of the Ram, because this Venus position, which is there until October now, it's been there since early June, means that you can make new friends, that it's interesting and enjoyable to make connections, being more playful or getting those sorts of connections and contacts which bring out that more fun side, or just that lighter side maybe, or maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's more to do with you have contact with children, animals, the arts, people connected to the arts, leisure activities, those kind of activities, but also performance-orientated activities, because it's quite a competitive house of the chart. So you're likely to express yourself maybe at times over this long transit in a slightly more competitive way. Maybe it's in the love department, because this is also covered by this house, romance, and partners, but also this lighter side of that, and having more opportunity to have fun, maybe, whatever you consider to be the fun side of life, there's more opportunity for it. And Venus is here until October the 9th. And then until the 25th, Mars, your ruling planet, is in the same area, really adding a kind of almost like a self-indulgent energy there, a kind of firecracker energy, sort of fireworks, to any of those things that I've listed in the area where Venus was. But there can be occasions when you yourself feel the center of attention more. You're getting more attention, whether you want that or not. But your creative energy, or your competitiveness, or your drive to get this access to these activities, which are more relaxing maybe, and just take you out of the kind of the daily grind of things, is stronger, because Mars likes to take decisions wherever it is and then get active wherever it is. And so maybe you're mountain climbing, who knows, maybe you're bungee jumping, because Mars does like action sports, if we're talking about sports. But if we're not, we could be talking about, children, you just got to keep up, or it might be not like that at all. It might be about an enterprise or project. Like, this is a good transit for the entrepreneurs among you. So those of you that really want to launch into something or launch something, and you could be more in the mood to take a chance, to take a risk, to take a gamble. Of course, don't, you know, lose your head, but it could be, you know, take a chance on love, take a chance on something else, you know. So that's it. And then Mars does move out of there and goes into this far more working, busy, sort of maintenance-orientated sector that the Sun will have just moved out of on the 23rd. The Sun moves out of there and puts the emphasis on the same area as Venus, no, on the same area as Mercury. And that means two heads are better than one. That means, you know, you can benefit from the support or contribution of somebody else in close relationship, or you just click with someone. You've got a rapport there. Maybe it's like that. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's more business-like. It can be like that. But it will. The central theme is how to get the best out of, you know, pooling knowledge, or allowing yourself to be advised or guided, or them, you know, coming to you for advice or guidance, and keeping your ear close to the ground, maybe picking up little nuggets of information, however it is for you. There is definitely a feeling of mutual, stronger feeling of one-to-one mutual interaction or mutual attraction as well. Now, there's other things going on this month. There's a major shift of emphasis from the fixed to the mutable signs. That's because Saturn is moving on the 17th from this area where you've been maybe scraping the bottom of the barrel. This is one way it can be working because of what's going on with in society as a whole. You've been scraping the bottom of the barrel, you're having to pull in your belt, or you've just been feeling rather hard done by, or it can be in a different sort of a way. It can have meant that you have been asking yourself straighter, deeper questions and getting the answers to, you know, how much do I actually need? What do I most value? What do I most value about my life, this relationship, this job, this place where I live, this whatever? And then taking a decision, biting the bullet and shifting, because the house that Saturn has been in has been a gear change house. So gear changing outwardly in the outer world, with a setup of some kind, whether that's a domestic setup, a financial setup, just a shifting, but it would have been maybe quite a slow, grinding shifting of gears because of the slowness and the heaviness of the Saturn energy. That's coming out of there on the 17th. It could have been to do, as I say, with a relationship, and maybe biting the bullet on that one as well and saying, okay, you know, this is where I draw the line for whatever the reasons. So Saturn is restarting her 2-year transit of Sagittarius on the 17th, and that puts her in a very supportive aspect with your Sun. So the shift of emphasis is going from the water and earth signs into the air and fire signs. Now, actually, that is in a supportive kind of way, and that's going to be for over the next 2 years, coming out of there in December 2017. But also Jupiter has shifted from being in really quite a bouncy, resilient, opportunistic angle to your Sun sign, and going into Virgo, which does highlight your area of health and works, this maintenance orientated area that I mentioned that the Sun has just gone through for the first 3 weeks of September. But this is a long transit. Jupiter will be in here until September 2016. And there will be no shortage of opportunities for you to learn and grow through these areas. Health matters as well, through co-workers, through maybe training and getting new strings to your bow. It can be health and fitness, yes, of course, and building up something there, installing a new regime, whatever. The indications are, though, that you will get the chance to experience new work or health health outcomes, or maybe service providers, learning to pick your way through them, learning to find your way around, and also possibly others appreciating you even more for what you can deliver, for what you can contribute in the working side of life, or just appreciating, you know, exchanging skills. I mean, look into that. Might be something in your wherever you live in the world. Skills exchange, you know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, sort of thing. You know, I'll come and do your hair if you can sort of put some tiles in my bathroom, kind of thing. And there's no money exchanged at all. Whoopee! So no tax. That kind of thing, because this Jupiter area is what your area of potentially abundance, and abundance in more ways than just the material sense as well. But it's also an area of progress and expansion, that kind of feeling. So yeah, and also the area where you can learn a lot. And you Arians born the 23rd to the 31st of March with 3 to 11 degrees rising are going to be feeling the energy of Jupiter the most this month. Also we have an aspect which is worth a mention. So there's going to be, first of all, there's going to be a total lunar eclipse in your sign, Aries, and that's going to be particularly for you earlier Arians. It's around about 4 degrees 40 minutes of Aries. So that's in the first, over the first week of Aries, maybe a little bit into the second week. You guys are going to feel that the most. Having said that, the wave pulses through, you know, the whole of the sign and the whole of the zodiac. So even though you don't have your sun in the very, very early degrees and they weren't born in the very, very first days of Aries, you probably do have another planet in Aries or nearby, you know. So we don't want to be too strict about that, drawing lines there. So there's not really a cutoff. So I'm just going to say that this is a time to start something new, is to say, okay, out with the old and in with the new. It's a really, really good time anyway, because this is the month that Saturn changes signs. So maybe you want to be taking the long view on something. Maybe you want to say to yourself, okay, I'm just getting cranked up to really nail this one now, over this, particularly over the next 2 years, because Saturn is in this very supportive angle, and on the eclipse day it's actually in an aspect which is going to be stabilizing. However, if something else going on between Jupiter and Neptune, which you should know about, particularly after the first week, which is rather, you know, Jupiter and Neptune have similarities. They used to both be the ruler of Pisces. Only Neptune, well, this astrologer only uses Neptune now, but I keep always an eye on Jupiter and what Jupiter's doing. So Jupiter and Neptune are across each other, across the wheel to each other for most of September. And when these two get together by degree, we must all try harder to prioritize and organize in a way which is realistic. So, not being too head in the clouds, not being too high-flying, you know, with our plans, and depending on what else is going on, of course, always with your natal chart and where you are in your life and your basic sort of, you know, experiences and so on. This brief transit may mean others are unreliable, especially when Mercury goes retrograde from the 17th, or is it the 16th onwards. And you might feel like let down, or you might feel that you are too reliant on them, or maybe you don't feel that, you just are depending on them. Or maybe it's them depending on you and you don't like that either. Or you seem to be unreliable to them or elusive, or they seem to be unreliable to you or elusive, or there might be deception flying around. A little bit of, okay, well, they don't need, you know, it's on the need to know basis, they don't need to know that yet, which now I'm not saying, because there's no opinion here about whether this is good or bad. This is just the energy weather. So it just depends on where you're at, what's going on, and what your perspective is, okay? Because actually it can be altogether good. This is fantastic for people who are doing maybe spiritual work, healing work, artistic type work, as long as, again, you don't overestimate or even underestimate to do with timings and to do with, always have a bit of a backup plan. That's what I would say about this one. Have a plan B, have a backup plan. It's not major, it's not going to rule your life, but I just need for you to know this, because it does actually, now, the move of Saturn, though, from the 17th, and this eclipse isn't happening, this lunar eclipse, which is a total lunar eclipse, isn't happening until the 28th. So this means that this transit of Jupiter and Neptune, which will all already be running before the 28th, will tend to be steadied, I think, depending on a lot of other factors, but will tend to be steadied in your chart or in your life. Because Moon and Saturn by degree together, or pretty close, helps to settle things, help you to consolidate things. If you're going, whoops, kind of got to revert to plan B here, that will help. And yeah, it should help a great deal. So this new transit of Saturn is interesting. Of course, I will be coming back to it every single month, but you'll tend to start seeing the sort of up close and personal side of some ideal or some sort of view of the world through rose-tinted spectacles, or maybe it's a person, or maybe it's a job, or maybe it's a place, or it might be anywhere. It might be some culture, but something that you maybe previously idealized and said, oh, I always wanted to go there. And then you are there, or I always wanted to be with that person, or I always wanted to do this job, and then you are there. So then you begin to see that you've got to take responsibility, that there are many, many details, you've got to take more seriously, you feel pressured a little bit sometimes. It might not be like that at all. It might be about education, higher education. Again, this is you gradually getting there in the end, chipping the shape that you want out of a stone. And you just got to be steady and patient in this area. It's to do with communications, to do with broadcasting, publications as well. It can be to do with people at a distance. But you also appreciate and even wish who you also appreciate and even wish to emulate, can be to do with teachers. So you steadily are following in their wake. You're picking up the threads. You're getting there in the end. And you Arians born the 22nd of March, 22nd of March, right, 22nd of March, or just around there, 21st, 22nd, or 17th of April, or with up to 2 degrees rising, or from 28 degrees rising, you're going to feel that energy the most this month. Or rather the energy of Saturn the most this month. And also just to mention, you Arians born the 5th to the 10th of April, or with 18 to 21 degrees. In fact, that hasn't changed since last month, really. That's for the Uranus in your sign. And also, that's the 7th to the 12th of April, as a matter of fact. Or with 18 to 21 degrees rising. But having said that, it does actually kind of pulse out from that sort of central corridor of energy. And so those of you born on the 5th to the 10th, you probably are going to be saying, okay, life is getting a lot more sort of predictable now. Those of you born on the 5th to the 9th. But that's me speculating, because there might be another planet in the way, of course. However, this unsettling, this changing and transforming energy, this awakening energy of Uranus, it's like, oh, well, I was getting quite complacent and snuggled down in my little rut, and then it comes along and it just tends to blow things open, and then we realize that we have a wider range of options, and why didn't we ever see that before? And then Pluto, you Arians born the 2nd to the 4th, or the 12 to 14 degrees rising. And that's it for September. If you know your rising sign, your sun sign, listen to those. And also, this is all written up on my website if you want to read it. And I